Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yes.
Oh, thank you for confirming that. Komodo Nezi, Duathlon, Gonezu. Good morning everyone, my name is Dati Tetso. Dati Tetso Siye. Welcome. This morning we're gathered to mark an incredible milestone that so many people in this room, so many people on the Zoom, and people beyond this room have put an incredible amount of effort to get to today. And so I'm very, very, very thrilled to welcome Federal Minister Julie Dabrusin, Federal Minister Rebecca Alty, Territorial Minister Jay Macdonald, all of the Indigenous government leaders in the room. I will take a minute to acknowledge you all. Chief Fred Bettina, Chief Lloyd Chico from govt First Nation, Grand Chief Herb Norwegian with Decho First Nations, Akwatinde Danny Gaudet with Délı Gwich'in government, Tammy Steinwan, who's here on behalf of Grand Chief Jackson Lafferty with the Gwich'in government, President Marc Whitford with the North Slave Métis Alliance. I know on Zoom we have President Gary Bailey with the N.W.T, Chief Steve Patel with Nahanni Butte Dene Band, Grand Chief Frederick Blake with the Gwich'in Tribal Council. We have Chair Danny Yakeleya on behalf of the Trust, Sub-Chief Juni Gahdele, who's here on behalf of Lutsël Dene First Nation. I'd like to take a moment to also acknowledge Misty Ireland, who's here on behalf of the Trust as well, a director appointed to the Trust. And I apologize if I've missed anyone in the room or anyone on the Zoom. I can't quite see all the Zoom participants. So it's such an honor to stand here and have the opportunity to welcome everyone for this incredible occasion. And to get us started, I'd like to invite the Yellowknife's Dene drummers to come and open us up with a prayer song.
For inviting us here. This is a very important moment. I'd like to acknowledge our Chief Ernest Messina for being here, for signing this on behalf of YKDFN. It's very important for Indigenous-led conservation projects, and we appreciate that this is happening. This is very important to us in particular. We have a lot of projects on the go, and signing on to this will get started. And appreciate the federal government for being here, for signing this with us, all the chiefs in the room, for the Indigenous nations, everybody from the territory. We're just going to sing a prayer song to help facilitate this. Get this started in a good way. To say a prayer for the
Merci. So I'd like to now invite Chief Ernest Bitsina with the Yellowknife Dene First Nations to come and provide his welcoming remarks.
Morning, everybody. I really want to thank the drummers for drumming today, because yesterday they were drumming late last night at the Folks and Rocks. So I think about 1:30 or so. Like, they're true warriors, that's for sure. When I was coming in here, seeing so many Aboriginal leaders that I thought I was at a Dene Nation meeting. It's good to see all my Aboriginal friends, and it's good to see all of you. So I want to say, on behalf of the Yellowknife Dene First Nation, I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you today. We gather in Chief Draggers territory, our traditional lands of the Yellowknife Dene First Nation. This is sacred ground for people, and it has been honored, and it's been honored to host you. I'd like to recognize the minister. Welcome, Minister. And our fellow Indigenous leaders and representative of Government of Canada and the Government of Northwest Territories and partners. Mashicho for coming to the table and to stand with us. This document we signed today has been a long time in the making. It reflects of years of collaboration and commitment from Indigenous leaders across the North. It reflects our shared understanding that Indigenous people have always been the stewards of the land, and that in time for that responsibility to be recognized and supported. Right here in Chief Draggers territory, we are committed to protecting our own land. So over 1 million hectares of land will be protected. That means safeguarding the waters, the williday, and protecting the animals like the caribou and their calving grounds. It means ensuring that this land continues to feed, shelter, and teach our children and grandkids, just like our ancestors did. We are pleased that the funding for these initiatives has been secured. This is a significant step forward, not only for the conversation, but also for the reconciliation. True stewardships require true respect. But as we celebrate this milestone, we must also remember that there is much more work to do. The Yellowknife Dene still await resolutions on our land claims, and we continue to call on Canada to formally apologize for the harm caused on Giant Mine and Calm Mine. Harms that continue to affect our people and our land today. Thank you for being here, and let's have a good workshop. And Masicho, and good to see all my Aboriginal friends. Okay, Masi.
Masi Chief Bitsina. I'd now like to invite Grand Chief Herb Norwegian from Decho First Nations to come and share some remarks.
Thank you all. Thank you, Minister. Good to see you again. And all your happy faces there, like little spring chickens here in the yard, ready to do a deal. Again, thank you, Chief Bitsina, for some good words. The drummers especially, coming from Yellowknife, the Quechua territory. I've always admired coming here to Yellowknife, to this territory, because I lived in Yellowknife here back in the early days of the Dene Nation years, and I got to hunt with some really good hunters from Bettina's group, Alfred Belangeau and Joe Charlo and all these guys here, and they brought me out on the land, and because of that, I just fell in love with this part of the territory and the people, especially the old people. And when they talked about the land, you know, they have always saw this part of the territory as it being already protected. And I think what they were saying was that that when people are out in the land, they do all these ceremonies. They give their signatures to the great creator, and you know, they pay homage through the ceremony. Such a beautiful thing, and every time I've gone out with them, you could just feel that energy. And Alfred Belangeau was telling me, he says, this great land here was created for us, for our people, he says. And he says that you'll see signs in this part of the territory, kind of like signatures, he says. And I thought that was really interesting. I probed him a little bit more on that. I meant, what is that? He says, you know, on this great rock here, he says, this is all rock. He says, the white man tells us this is millions of years old rock, he says. But, he says, I want to tell you something and I want to show you something. He said, one of those areas there he brought me to, it had, on the rock, on the bedrock, it had moccasin footprints embedded into the rock. And I said, wow, that's incredible. I says, no, that had to be pretty old. And he says, the footprints are not only just in this area. He says, out in the barren land, you see all these kinds of areas. And he said that what you have to do is, the creator's calling me here, so keep it down a little bit, he's telling me. But anyway, he was telling me that these places were sacred. And interestingly enough, he was saying that all these places that people used to travel, those little footprints that you see in all parts of the land, those are signatures of our elders that have passed on. And many of these areas that we're protecting were putting our ink on and wanting to do justice to it. Like elders are actually probing us, pushing us to protect these prime areas. But in this Yellowknife area, you know, it was incredible. Anyway, the footprint part, I had talked to, when I worked for CBC Radio, there was an old geologist that came into town at one of these big events here. And I asked him, I says, you're a geologist. I said, you understand all this rock here? He says, yeah. He says, this Precambrian shield is one of the oldest rock in the world, he says. And I said, okay, well, here's the situation here. I'm traveling around with these elders, and there's these footprints in the Precambrian shield, like a moccasin about the size of size 8. You could see them different places like that. The elders tell me that there's a lot of places like that. And he says, he paused and he was just stunned to hear that. And he says, I don't think those are footprints, he says. And I says, what do you mean by that? Well, he says, well, you got to understand that the history of humans being on this earth is roughly about over 20 or 30,000 years old. And if you're saying that there are moccasin footprints in the Precambrian shield, the Precambrian shield is millions of years old, he says. So are you saying then the Dene were actually walking around in this part of the country, and that's what we see behind? I said, well, you know, at some point you need to take a look at that. And so we left it at that. But going back to old Alfred, and he says these areas like that are places that are just sacred. And many of our places throughout the valley here, you know, when you are signing off these documents, these are really, really important steps that you're taking. And I just came off of a DG yesterday. I was up there, and we were up there for the whole couple of days, and we were supposed to come back by plane, and we got windbound first thing in the morning. And it was a beautiful day, and the water was crystal clear, and the loons were diving, and everything was just blossoming, and we were supposed to take off about 10 o'clock in the morning, but all of a sudden, right around that time, the wind came up, and these big rollers, they just took over, and we stayed there right till about 10 o'clock that night. It was as if the Creator was saying, you know, just stay here. We need you to stay here a little longer. And I was really, really happy that I stayed up there for a bit longer. And And these are the kinds of areas that are close to our hearts. Many of us that have done a lot of work, and myself, I've done a lot of work in protecting some of these fine areas, especially the Déji. And these are the ones that are close to our hearts. And a lot of our elders that have passed on, they see this as something that's really, really important. So the kind of work that you're doing, feel good about it. And if you're signing something off, make sure that you feel that ink touch that paper. When you touch that paper, that means you're touching the land. And the land will be thankful forever. And it's a good step, and be positive about that. And just say "masi" when you do that. Masi cho. Thank you.
Masi, Grand Chief Norwegian. Hope your creator has voicemail. Next, I'd like to invite Sub-Chief Juni Gahdele to provide remarks on behalf of Chief James Marlowe with Lutsël Dene First Nation.
Can I put it up a bit? Somebody locked it in there, right?
Three things at a time.
Oh,
Please, hang on.
hello. Okay. Merci cho. Merci les services. Alors là, tu as haré ici. Tu as doja. Tu as tu sampa. Parce que la tasi. Merci les services. Kuchan tisi da white tisi. Chan tisi. No nanasi. Kepotia. Thì ni nó chân tiêu cha, hạt tiêu yêu đạt, đó là cái online đó gì, government Canada, government North Slave Métis, thì nó là thì hard thì sản phẩm này anh gì, private donor số gì ha, gì đó thì yêu cha, thì现在的高地当的，高的那当的是，一定要用啥来拿。다도 이시 하듯이 뒤니시 버티하 하다 마시리 세위시 이하. Good morning. So I know city viewers on behalf of Chief James Marlowe. He couldn't be here today. You know, every time somebody gives us something, we say, "Merci cho," thank you. And the funding that that's going to be given to us, and that's going to be released in a few months from now, talks about taking care of the land. Our land right now is going through a lot of changes. Climate change is happening. Things are warming up. And also development is happening on our land, disrupting our way of life, animals. So those changes, we have to be aware of. What our ancestors, forefathers, have left us. It's a land that's pristine, clean. You can go to the lake and drink water, go out on the land, get animals. If you're feeling sick, go to the land, pick medicine, All those things our ancestors left for us. Now it's our responsibility now to care for the land for the future generations. So I want to thank all those people that made this possible. The Honourable Julie Dabrusin, Minister of Environment, Climate Change Canada, and also Danny Yakeleya, Chair of the N.W.T, our Land for the Future Trust, and also the Government of Northwest Territories, Premier R.J. Simpson, and also to the donors, and also to the chiefs, Dene chiefs. One of the things that caught my mind also was when I was reading the flyer. It talks about sovereignty. For us, it's a word that we don't use very often. It's just like a Hmong word. We can't say that. But it's starting to happen now. The land that we're standing on today is sovereign. The people here are sovereign. The people here have a constitution, just like the other 4 regions. Then they're like that too. They have their own country, and they have their own constitution. So that's something that we have to recognize. The truth and reconciliation that's happening, the gap is closing now. It's coming to a point that we say that the people on this land here are sovereign. We've been here for a long time, hundreds of thousands of years. They can study all they want, but we were here first. The site of Dene in the East Arm didn't happen by accident. The elders saw what was happening. They saw the damage development could make. They want that area of land, our sacred area of land, they want to keep it the way it is for hundreds and thousands of years for the next generation. Yeah, this land here that we have, we can't walk away from it. This land here we stand on today is what we call unceded territory. It's never been surrendered. In our language, when we say during negotiations, it would be hard to say, "Dunisi kat imbit laita." You would never say that. You never part with this land, our country. This is our heart and soul of who we are as Dene people. So that's why we can't say that. It's against any law to give up your country, to walk away from it. So this agreement, just like anything else, is partnership. That means we all have to work together. If we want to create wealth in this country, we all have to do it together. There's no other way. We want to learn from the past, as we move forward. So I can't, like for us, like we are the best stewards of this land. The teachings that our elders have passed on to us, to care for the land, that's a knowledge that we have to use, our traditional knowledge, to provide for that care, so we can keep the land clean, and so we can get those caribou back again, get them back into like our traditional territory, back in Lutsël the way it used to be. That's our measuring stick for us, to see the caribou around Lutsël again. So a lot of the things that's here, that we're going to do, like we all have to do it together. That's the way that our elders have taught us, have told us, and that's the direction that we follow. So once again, I want to thank everybody that made this possible. As we move forward, we all have to work together. We do this for the future generations. Aho, machicho.
I'm going to leave this high because our next speaker is President Marc Whitford with the North Slave Métis Alliance. He's tall.
Still bringing it up right now.
Okay. Used to play in a band, so I know all this stuff.
But I want your angle in here.
That's good. Good morning, everybody. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today, and welcome our ministers, all. Also our fellow Indigenous leaders here today, which I'm grateful to have among us. And our funders, who have played a and are playing a very, very important role today in what is happening to us and the lands that our Creator has provided for us. Our job, with everybody's help, is to work together to move forward and to try to repair and make good and basically move all of us forward and be better custodians of the land that were given to us. Developments have occurred, there's no doubt. It was all part and parcel of what's happened, what the history of the North is. So now we look forward to continuing our work together with our fellow Indigenous leaders, with both governments, and also our funders, in order to make the land better, repair it, and do whatever we have to do to make it a better place for all of us, our children, our grandchildren, and the generations that are yet to come. So again, making it short, because there's many other things we have to do today. We've got some main speakers coming up, obviously. So anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
Merci, Marc. I'd like to now take a moment to welcome Grand Chief Frederick Blake to share some remarks on behalf of the Gwich'in Tribal Council.
Don't worry, it's only 10 pages. No, I'm just kidding. An Gwinzi, everyone. Good morning. Today is a good day. It's always a pleasure to be in the traditional territory of Chief Dragies. Thank you all for being here today. Today marks a major step forward, not just in policy or funding, but in recognizing the leadership of Indigenous peoples in protecting, managing, and restoring our lands. For the Gwich'in and for many of our relatives across the north, this trust is about securing our ability to care for our territory in our own way, on our own terms, for generations to come. The Our Land for the Future initiative is the result of many long conversations, difficult truths, and a shared understanding that the most effective way to care for the land is to return that responsibility to the people who have always lived with it. We are proud to be a part of the United Front, 21 Indigenous governments, working alongside the territorial, federal, and philanthropic partners. For the Gwich'in, one of the most exciting opportunities this trust brings is the ability to develop our Guardians program. Land Guardians are not just land monitors. They are teachers, traditional knowledge keepers, and protectors. They are out on the land year-round, watching the changes in the ice, the caribou, the rivers, and passing on knowledge of the land to our youth. With the establishment of the OLF Trust, we can access urgently needed resources to support our Guardians program, establish new protected areas in our settlement region, and implement mitigation actions to the impacts of climate change and industrial development with the strength of both traditional and Western knowledge. This is not just conservation, it is reconciliation in action. Masi Cho to all who helped bring us to this moment. I look forward to what we will build here together. Masi Cho.
Merci, Grand Chief. I'd now like to invite on Zoom President Gary Bailey to deliver remarks on behalf of the N.W.T. Métis Nation. President Bailey, are you?
Thank you.
Okay, we can hear you.
Yep. All right, Katrina, that's you very well today. Welcome everybody, I wish I was there. Métis Nation is we're very proud of the work undertaken by all the Indigenous groups, the N.W.T, Canada, and the private donors. This has resulted in the signing of the OLF Trust Grant Agreement. The OLF Grant Agreement has been informed by values, Indigenous knowledge, and science, and ways of being of each Indigenous partner. The $300 million in the federal funds for Indigenous-led conservation, stewardship and economic development across the Northwest Territories will help protect the land, preserve diversity, support our thriving culture, build community capacity, and contribute to healthy and equitable economies. Increased attention to achieving such objectives help our communities become more financially prosperous and resilient in the face of increasingly serious threats from climate change. Indigenous-Métis have always prioritized Indigenous participation in the economy. The economic development includes investments in Indigenous harvesting economies, ecotourism, arts and artisanal activities, Indigenous culture tourism, research economies, ecosystems, ecosystem services and related infrastructure capacity building and training. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples emphasizes the self-determination and right to lands of Indigenous people and the urgent need to respect and promote the inherent rights of Indigenous peoples of the world. By providing this funding, not only does it acknowledge the need to protect our lands, but Canada recognizes the Indigenous peoples as the right peoples to be the caretakers of the land. We do not make long-term sustainability to protect and conserve areas across Canada. We will continue to see the negative environmental impacts. The financial investments that have been made supports a collaborative work to protect and conserve lands and waters for future generations. Again, the North Slave Métis Nation is very proud to have been able to work with everybody on this, and thank everybody for all the hard work to get us to this point. Moving forward, as conservationists of our lands, I think it's going to be a great 10 years coming for all of our people and doing what we like to do, which is be on the land, taking care of the land, and surviving on the land. So, thank you very much.
We're struggling with this mic today.
I'm covered.
Thank you. There we go. Merci, President Bailey. I'd now like to invite Ekwatinde Danny Gaudet from the Dene Gwich'in government to share his remarks.
Thank you. I'm the N.W.T for Dene. It's a Slavey term for chief. First off, I can't see my nose. I just want to thank everybody. It's a really important day, and I like telling stories because I learn from the elders, and the elders don't tell you what to do, they tell stories. And I got my notes, I thank my staff for my notes, and I get to the point, but I do it through a story, right? So I'll change that up a little bit. First off, I just want to thank Chief Ernest Metsina, the YK Dene, and especially the drummers, Masi, for the opening prayers. It's important that we do that. Ernest and I went to high school together. We stayed in residence, and he's not here. I just noticed. He knew I was coming up, I guess. I also went to school with Daniel Ruzi Mazazumi. He changed his name on me. But we went to residence together. We had a lot of fun. I just want to recognize my friend Patrick. So good to see you here. And keep fighting. All the people that put a lot of effort in getting us to this point. I mean, there's guys, Bobby, Danny, N.W.T. I'm obviously going to miss some people, but thank you all. It's been a lot of work. I think we've been at it for almost 3 years. We're literally at the finish line. But the work's just starting, right? It's just the beginning of a lot of work that we have to do. And I want to thank all the leaders for coming together. 21 Indigenous governments working together to get to this point is unprecedented. I keep saying that because we've had a lot of disappointments in the North where we don't fight together. And this one, we fought together. There was nobody opposing it. I really want to thank Minister Dabrusin, Atney. Thank you very much. Jay, you've been a real champion for the government of Northwest Territories, and I really want to thank you. I also want to thank Minister Gilbo. He's not here. He's not the minister anymore, but he put a lot of time and effort in making sure this happens. And I really want to thank him also. I've only met with him a couple of times, but a pretty impressive guy. The donors, thank you guys very much. We could do this with you, and creating great partnerships is really important, because I'll start with Prophet Aya's stories. That his prediction is that the world will heat up. And the fellow passed away in 1940. He said, water will become the most valuable resource in the world because earth will dry up, water will disappear. And his predictions have come true already. And I won't go into those, but it's really important to understand that everything we do it based on the future, the prediction of what the elders speak about. And we also got to remember, we're just visitors, right? We're just visitors, and we have to leave the world in a way that our children and our grandchildren still have access to it. They can still benefit from it. And certainly it's got to be the food, it's got to be the animals, it's got to be the water. But the reality we're facing is that the world has changed, and it's changing fast. And yes, we still want development, we still want to build resources and all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to sustain us. It won't keep us alive. What will keep us alive is the water, the air, the plants, the trees. So we have to do everything we can to preserve it. I'm not a fan of the word protection, and there's a reason why. Because we might be so good at protecting land that our kids can't use it in the future. So preservation, in my mind, is what we've practiced for thousands of years. We take down our tents, put it up, take it down. Nobody knows we were there unless there's a footprint in the rock. You got to realize that the only way we survive is that we look after the land and the resources. And I'm not talking only about Indigenous people, I'm talking about humans. When we did our self-government negotiations and we finished, and the elders always kept telling the federal government, we're doing this not only for ourselves, we're doing it for you and your children too. And we have to start thinking that way, because one of the prophecies is that we can be very successful if we work together. And that's one of the biggest prophecies, and I always promote the idea of let's work together. When we negotiated our agreement, we continued to work with N.W.T on negotiating another one. And we always try to make sure that it's a living document that we can change all the time. And so we continue to work with Minister Macdonald and his team on trying to create something. I always try to explain to people, I'm only here because I'm fixing something that's not working. Otherwise, I won't be here if it's working. We've done a lot of work negotiating a land claim, self-government. We hear a lot of people say, oh, why they did that, why they gave up this, why they gave up that. We never gave up anything. We came to make sure that when we speak, you speak to me now. Because you never spoke to me for 100 years. You took the Indigenous out of me for 100 years. This is a document that will help us put the Indigenous back in me. Bring us back to the land. bring us back to a point where we could actually start documenting what is on our land. Because the world only knows paper. They only know research, and they only believe in that kind of stuff. Well, we've been telling you for 100 years what's on our land, why it's important to us, but we've been doing it orally. This will give us an opportunity through the guardians and all our Indigenous people that go out on the land to help us start documenting what is out there, so that we could prove to the people that, guess what? The world is drying up. The planet is changing. We need to adjust to what's happening. But what's really important is that we have management over lands and resources through the land claims and through the Mackenzie Valley Resource Management Act and all those agreements. But the reality is that what's feeding them to make their decisions? There's a disconnect between the Indigenous people that actually know everything about the land and water resources and the actual managers and the legislators that are actually making the decisions. There's a huge disconnect. This is an opportunity to actually start connecting that. Let's start feeding these management decisions and legislators properly. Let's give them what they call informed information so that they could actually make decisions properly. We've been managing the Northwest Territories without this information. So it tells me that we're guessing when we do things. You know what? Industry might come even more now because we documented all our information. Here it is. You're not guessing on the impacts you're having. You already know because now we provided all the information. This gives us the opportunity to do that. But it also, more importantly, brings us back to the land. We need to get out of the community. We need to encourage people to go out, document stuff. Tell us what's going on out there. Let us know. When I talk about water being the most valuable resource in the world, I don't know. I just know I drink it and I'm okay. But how come I don't have a lab testing the water on Great Bear Lake? As they say that the fish will disappear too. Only 4 spots on Great Bear Lake will have fish. Well, what's going to cause that? So I said to my people, I said, we need to go study the water. We need to test it. We need to make sure we see the changes. What's going to cause the fish to disappear? Because that's going to be the only food left in the world in the future. These are stories from the elders. Like I said, I'm just a visitor. I need to collect the information so that my grandchildren and yours, they have information, they can make decisions, important decisions on how we're going to survive going forward. This stuff will help us reduce the cost of living because now bring more food in. But it helps us when we bring more traditional food in to reduce diabetes. You would never think that this type of agreement can create healthy communities, healthy families. It's important that we do that because we are connected to the land. When we signed treaties, you literally took me out of my element, which was the land, water, air, plants, and trees, and you put me over here and said, you go to that school and you learn. Okay, now I learned, but now you're putting me back. And I'll just finish up with, I'm so grateful to be representing Indigenous community, Dene. I really want to thank them for everything they've entrusted me with. I'm just a visitor again, like I said, but we had an opportunity to negotiate a self-government agreement, and I worked really hard side by side with our elders nonstop for 18 years. When our agreement went through Parliament and the Senate, the elder talked to me on this when he was passing away. He says, don't worry, the self-government agreement's going to go ahead. It's going to pass. No problem, he says. Don't worry. So when we get to Parliament and when we get to the Senate and we get to committee, our agreement went through Parliament basically within a couple days, 3 readings. Went through committee with 0 opposition, 0 questions, and 0 amendments. Then it went to Senate, and then Senate passed it. It was unprecedented that every party in government supported the Dene agreement. We had 0 voters against it. And that's what you get when you work together and people start understanding who we really are and what we're after. I want to help develop the North, but this will help. But finally, we're a little bit in the driver's seat. We still got a lot of work to do. I really want to thank you all. Masicho. Rebecca, I got a hat for you. It says, land needs guardians. And it comes from the Satu, but I said, well, I can't just say it's Satu. It's got to be from all the guardians in the North.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much, Danny.
They wanted me to put it on their head, but I said,
oh, there we go.
Masi Ekwatinde Gaudet. I would like to now welcome Territorial Minister Jay Macdonald to come and share some remarks on behalf of the Government of the Northwest Territories.
Perfect. Thank you, N.W.T, and I wanted to also recognize the drummers for the great prayer song to open us up in a good way today. I'm honored to be here today for the signing of the Our Land for the Future federal grant agreement. This agreement provides for the release of $300 million in federal funding to the Our Land for the Future Trust. And part of the $375 million invested that will benefit communities across the Northwest Territories for years to come. As the chiefs and the leaders have said here today, this agreement represents a generational investment. It will provide opportunities to support Indigenous-led stewardship while offering real, meaningful, and new opportunities to Northerners, particularly in the small communities. We are seeing a shift toward a conservation economy that puts people, community, and cultural values at the center of decision making. This agreement will help fund programs like Indigenous Guardian initiatives that will provide training, long-term jobs, and new skills that support people to be on the land and in their home communities. These programs will strengthen local economies by supporting traditional livelihoods, ecotourism, and land-based education and training. They will also communicate, adapt to climate change, and protect the ecosystems on which food security, clean water, and cultural well-being depend. Over the next decade, this agreement will help to create hundreds of jobs across the territory. This ensures more opportunity for people to work in a way that reflects their values, shares their knowledge, and supports youth and families in building stronger communities. This agreement is a good example of what we can accomplish when we work together. It reflects our shared respect for the land, our responsibility to future generations, and our belief in a thriving, sustainable Northwest Territories. The N.W.T is proud to support this Indigenous-led initiative. We are looking forward to working together with the Indigenous governments, the Government of Canada, and the other partners to make sure these initiatives and investments lead to long-term economic and environmental benefits. Let's move forward from today, united and with a continued commitment to working towards our shared goal of building a territory where protecting the environment, preserving culture, and creating economic opportunities go hand in hand. Masicho.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm honored here today to be here on behalf of the Board of Directors. Honored to be selected as the chair. These things don't happen very often, and it is a real honor to be part of something. 2.5 years ago, I came to my first PFP meeting, and I think it took me 2 or 3 months to figure out what PFP was, and did not know too much about it. And looking around at that time, all the people around the table, all the workers that were there from the 22 Aboriginal groups that were there at the time, the Government of Canada, Government of Northwest Territories, the donors, the legal people. You can really feel just walking into this is something that's really happening, that's going on. And then trying to figure out what's going on at the same time, because this was new for me. And 2.5 years later, to be back almost at the same place at the same time, Yellowknife, Explorer Hotel, July, I think my first meeting was in May, to be able to sign the document along with Madam Minister to actually get the funds that we've been working on for the 2.5 years. It's a really great honor. It's a great honor to be here and listen to leaders speak at this time. As a director, and this is the boring part of being not the politicians, but as kind of that bureaucratic guy going, okay, this is our dry work that we're going to be doing, but I'm still honored to do it, by the way, it's our duty now to look at stewarding the resources that are committed to this initiative. And the light is really bothering me, by the way. So today's grant agreement marks that final step that we've been taking to transfer the Government of Canada's funds, 300 million, and begin working on the flow of the 75 million from the donors that should be happening shortly. And this work and the document that we signed in November accumulated in months and months of work that we had to do as directors when we were appointed. We were meeting weekly in order to get the whole structure built, in order to receive the funds that we need to do the distribution policies, and just hiring the staff. Look at the staff. We still have to do these things. We've still got months of work ahead of us in order to actually get the money out to the communities. We have an important meeting in September that these documents will be reviewed, and once they're approved by the partners, the Indigenous governments, that we can start looking at flowing these funds. And just when you look at it and try to figure out, this is in your head as well, this is the largest investment in Indigenous-led conservation and stewardship in the N.W.T. It will lead, the benefits, the transformational benefits that will come out of this for the communities and the northern economy, and also for the country, is huge. We're looking at 2% of protection on a Canadian scale. There's a huge amount of land and resource lands that we'll be looking at, adding to the 30 by 30 initiative. And speaking, and I think the leaders are looking and talking about it, it'll be a positive impact on the lives of our youth, elders, and land users, as it will create a more hopeful future for all of us and all Canadians, as Danny was talking about. And so, as directors, we take our job seriously because we're tasked with a huge responsibility. How do we manage this money to make sure that we maximize the benefits that come out of it? And we want to carry these responsibilities as we go forward and doing the work that we need to do. I want to, as I already talked about, remember what was a PFP and trying to understand that, but we are doing that. We are getting there. When we signed the agreement, it was a milestone in November. Unfortunately, I was not there at the time, but I think that was a huge milestone that we made, and this is another milestone, not as huge one as November. This is another milestone that we're moving forward. So, just my eyes are still trying to adjust from the light up. I'm sorry about that. This phase is especially important because it will get the investment into the field, ensure Indigenous partners have the resources to fulfill their aspirations for conservation, stewardship, and economic development. As Danny quite aptly mentioned, in the coming months, our Land for the Future Trust will finalize all the work I talked about, the policies that will guide the application process to actually get the money out to the communities and to manage these funds. And again, as I mentioned, all these policies were reviewed in September in order to do this. And in closing, I want to thank all the people that started when I got in 2.5 years ago. All the people that were at the table and worked around that table, from Canada, N.W.T, the Aboriginal partners, the donors, the tremendous amount of work and collaboration that happened was unprecedented. I've never seen anybody that pulled together so much to make this happen. The work that the N.W.T staff people, when we went to bring the document to create the trust through the legislative process, it was just so great that everybody believed in this. The Canada, the people that came from Canada, Nicole, Nicholas, the people that were there, that everybody believed in the project that was happening, to make this happen in 2.5 years, to overcome every obstacle that we thought we had in front of us, to get where we did. It was just tremendous. And just to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for all the work that everybody put in. You know, the day-long meetings, the evening meetings, review of documents that were coming out crazy to review in doing this, and getting to where we are today. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm glad that we still have, and I'm glad that we're still going to be having that kind of hard work ahead of us for the next 10 years, where we see the fund go and continue working for more. That what we're going to see on the ground for the communities and for the people is going to be tremendous. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Thank you.
Merci, Danny. I'd now like to deliver a very warm welcome to Minister Julie Dabrusin, who is here to sign the grant agreement on behalf of Canada and to share some remarks.
Thank you. All of these moments with a microphone have been really telling on all of us learning a lot about each other's heights today. So it's been a learning in many ways. Good morning, bonjour, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the lands that we're on are located in Chief Dragi's territory. And from time immemorial, it has been the traditional land of the Yellowknife's Dene First Nation, and that we respect the histories, languages, and cultures of all other Indigenous peoples, including the North Slave Métis and all First Nations Métis and Inuit, whose presence continues to enrich this vibrant community. And as I say that, because I always worry sometimes that it sounds like a checkbox, but it isn't. I think all the stories that we've heard today, all of the speakers, have really highlighted the importance of the connection of the history of this land and of the future that gets to be built from today. Because today is truly a historic moment. I'm glad to be here with Minister Alty, who you'll be hearing from in a few minutes again. And I really want to start also by thanking N.W.T and Danny for going out with me this morning and taking some time to talk with me and to explain really how this is truly a historic moment. 'Cause there's one thing about seeing things committed to paper. It's another thing to hear, as I've heard this morning, from everyone who's put so much energy into making today happen. So thank you for all of that sharing. When I say that we're here today to mark a historic moment, it truly is. Today we're signing a grant agreement to unlock $300 million federal dollars into the Northwest Territories, Our Land for the Future Trust. And this isn't just a conservation announcement, it's really a global milestone. Our Land for the Future is one of the largest Indigenous-led conservation efforts in the world. The area that it's going to help to conserve is almost 7 times the size of Nova Scotia. I kind of had to look at a map to kind of think of what that looks like, but 7 times the size of Nova Scotia. It's larger than Germany and Japan and accounts for over 2% of Canada's land. It's large. And what happens, what we're doing today, it isn't just historic because of the size, although I spent the past couple of seconds talking to you about that. It's really about who's leading it. And this morning, as I said, as I went out for my walk, one of the things that really came through to me is really the importance of focusing not on just the land mass, not just on the numbers, but about the people who are at the center of it. And this is about putting Indigenous leaders at the center of decision making when we're talking about this land conservation. Indigenous governments and communities are at the heart of this work, shaping the vision, guiding the priorities, and stewarding the land. Our Land for the Futures is a landmark example of what's possible when governments and partners support, not direct, Indigenous leadership in conservation. And this moment today, this is Canada showing what leadership looks like on climate, on conservation, and on reconciliation. And I thank everyone who spoke before about talking about that and helping to explain how that looks. With today's agreement, we move from vision to action, from planning to progress, and from intention to impact. OLF will support climate action, Indigenous guardians, regional conservation, and economic development and land stewardship. Il s'agit d'un moment charnière. Lorsque les communautés, les gouvernements progressent tous ensemble, il est possible d'obtenir des avantages transformateurs pour la conservation des terres et de l'eau douce, la résilience climatique, la revitalisation culturelle et les économies locales. This is reconciliation in action. Today is a result of years of hard work, deep commitment, and genuine collaboration by Indigenous governments and organizations, the governments of Canada and the Northwest Territories, and philanthropic partners. It's also a key part of Canada's commitment to conserve 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. This initiative will protect some of the world's most intact boreal and tundra ecosystems, shaped by millennia of Indigenous stewardship. It also will create good, meaningful jobs, roles that are community-driven, climate-smart, and culturally grounded. These are jobs that will help sustain Indigenous ways of life while supporting practical action on climate change and long-term resilience. And one of the things we talked about today and this morning was that it's about new opportunities and ways of seeing the future for young people across these lands. It will strengthen Indigenous governance and decision-making in land use, law, and environmental leadership. And this is all while supporting Indigenous people who are stewards, storytellers, and sentinels of this ecosystem. This reflects a future where economic opportunity, environmental leadership, and cultural revitalization go hand in hand. We're focused on ensuring that conservation is not just about what we set aside, but about who leads, who learns, and who lives with the land. Cette étape est un résultat d'une collaboration sans précédent et témoigne de ce qui peut être réalisé lorsque nous travaillons ensemble. So I want to thank everyone who's worked so hard to bring this moment to life. And if I can, this is just a few weeks ago I was here in Yellowknife for the meeting of the Canada Council of Ministers of Environment. In fact, I had an opportunity to meet many of you at that moment too, and to talk about why the environment is so important, and also about the reality that climate change is here and feeling its impacts right now in the North. And it was a really important conversation to have, and I was happy to be here. It was actually my first official visit as a Minister of Environment to any part of our country. And I also got to learn about the leadership of people here in the community taking action to retrofit buildings and to actually work towards fighting climate change. But my first time in the Northwest Territories was a few years ago, when I also had a chance to meet some of you, when Canada had reached with Parks Canada an agreement, a cooperation agreement for the Nahanni National Park. I think all of these are steps forward, and it takes a lot of work. A lot of people here in this room are the people who've been doing the heavy lifting to help us to get to moments like today. So thank you so much. I'm so happy to be able to be here with you. Really look forward to the actual sign of this agreement. It's one step forward, but there's still much more work ahead, and I look forward to continuing that work together, and that we move forward to a more just and sustainable future that we get to create together. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Yellowknifer friend, Honourable Minister Rebecca Alty, to share some remarks as well.
What's more to say?
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Rebecca Alty, the MP for the Northwest Territories and Minister of Crown-Indigenous Relations. I'm honored to be here with you today and deeply grateful to all of the Indigenous leaders, elders, and community members who have put so much work in and have brought us together to celebrate this landmark announcement. I also want to thank Minister Dabrusin for coming back to Yellowknife a second time this month for this announcement. And Danny, to your comments before, to thank Minister Guilbeault, as well as former MP Michael McLeod. You know, I get to be here today, just 2 months in, but they did a lot of heavy lifting to bring this to where we are, so I want to thank them for their leadership. This is a historic day, as we've mentioned, for our territory and for our country. More than 25 partners, including First Nations and Métis governments, the Government of the Northwest Territory, private partners, and the Government of Canada have all come together to launch one of the largest Indigenous-led conservation in the entire world, N.W.T's Our Land for the Future. As a government, we are so proud to be able to support you as you lead this work. The $300 million in new investments that we are providing are going directly to Indigenous governments to protect land, create jobs, and support the sharing of traditional knowledge for years to come. The decisions are yours, made right here by the people who live on this land and know it best. You've built something bold, something rooted in generations of knowledge and care for the land. And now with this agreement in place, the work can advance on your terms in your communities. This work has the potential to help conserve up to 380,000 square kilometers of land and water. To put that in perspective, that's close to 30% of the Northwest Territories. This is an important step achieving our shared goal of protecting the land and water we all rely on. It also honors the deep connection Indigenous peoples have had with this land for generations. But beyond numbers and percentages, this is about people and the benefits of working together to bring communities, the land, and most importantly, future generations together. Our land for the future means good paying jobs, guardians caring for the land, young people learning from elders, and growing our local economies through harvesting, tourism, and culture. This is climate action that works because it's built by the community for the community. And it's part of something bigger. Our Land for the Future is one of 4 projects that we're supporting across the country. Combined, they can help protect up to 1 million square kilometers of land and water. That's a contribution on a global scale, and it's being led right here in the Northwest Territories. So to everyone who has been part of this process from the first conversation to today's celebration, thank you. You've built something with the power to change the world for the better, and I'm proud to stand with you in protecting the beautiful northern environment we call home. And to Danny's point, I know that it's a big day today, but there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, and so I wish everyone the best of luck and look forward to working with you to implement this agreement and really see it to come. Masicho, merci, merci. Thank you.
Minister Alty. So we're going to shift to a historic moment and have Minister Dabrusin and Chair Danny Yakeleya join me at the front for the signing of the grant agreement. As they make their way, I just would like to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts and the shared efforts of also Grand Chief Jackson Lafferty, who couldn't be with us today, but had put as much efforts into the shared initiative as every leader in this room, so he deserves a special acknowledgement as well today. Just a moment to also acknowledge the Indigenous Leadership Initiative for their convening role, the working group for the negotiation efforts, and the board as we work to take this next step in this historic moment.
Okay, well, let's see. Well, we're looking for the right page. We're flipping. Thank you. Sorry, sometimes there are technical challenges that we do. Yeah. Do we have to fill in the date right now too? Good. All right. Ready? Yeah, I know. I think it just sticks out. I think it sticks out. Okay. All right.
This is.
No, I know. It's a straight down, I think. Let's try this.
Okay.
There we go. All right, now we switch it over.
What a wonderful sight to see.
So much.
So much.
So much hard work went into reaching this milestone. I'd like to congratulate everyone, all of the partners on this remarkable achievement. Decho! We're gonna shift to a celebratory drum dance, but before we do that, I'd also like to just take a moment also to acknowledge our private partners. Gwich'in is here on behalf of the Future Trust and really on behalf of the collaborative table that the partners came to the north end. The next milestone in this journey will be the private grant agreements, and we look forward to that next. And if I could just invite all of the leaderships to the front of the room here, in front of the flags, we'd love to capture a leadership photograph before we shift to a celebratory drum dance. Can I invite the Yellowknife Dene drummers to come up and share a celebratory song with us? And then afterwards, we'll be very happy to serve you all lunch.
Must see, everybody. Thanks again for being here with us. Thanks again for doing this here. Thanks for doing it with us here on Chief Drugs territory. We really appreciate it. We appreciate being invited here. So to close off this part just before lunch, we're going to do a little celebratory drum dance. So we're going to go in a circle, single file going around that way. You might run into the camera, so just be careful. Don't run into the camera. I don't think you heard me. The camera might be in the way, but we're going to work around the camera. Okay, so you're going to come up around those two